Is our town Red Wing, Minnesota, USA. Yes, this is our town, a town where the cooperation of 10,500 people has achieved for us a prominent place in industry and a wonderful place in which to live. We have forged ahead in industrial production, in grain processing, leather processing, and the manufacture of clay products. Our town is full of warmth and bids all welcome. Most of the churches can be seen from the courthouse lawn. The Episcopal Church provides the town's first lending library. 7 of the city's 9 churches can be seen from here. Central Park and St. John's Lutheran Church are directly below the courthouse. Membership in Red Wing churches is much higher than the average ratio for Minnesota or the entire United States. According to the Scandinavian character, many of the churches are Lutheran of the various synods. Any creed is accepted here, and any creed is respected. Besides the basic and timeless teachings of their creed, the town's churches are endeavoring to give their congregations a broader view of today's world. Some of the churches hold joint sessions in which they consider practical applications of their religion to help adjust. Education of children has long been accepted by Red Wing as the most important function in developing good citizens. Our 3 grade schools are aimed toward developing balanced personalities, attitudes, and ideals of good citizenship. Continuing in high school, students learn specific skills, ability to weigh evidence, and to reach logical conclusions. A $1 million annex is now being added to the high school. It will have a gym, auditorium, and plenty of space for both band and chorus. Carl Sutherland is the music teacher at the high school. He also directs a male chorus. City business is conducted from the City Hall, directed by the mayor and 9 aldermen. Each man heads various special committees set up to investigate city problems, allocate budgets for work, and hire capable administrators. The city officers are in conference on city business. Left to right, we see Fire Chief Rosner, City Clerk Nordholm, Mayor Reardon, Police Chief Carlson, and Police Captain Anderson. The City Fire Department has 11 paid men beside the Fire Chief. It is unusually well equipped for a city of this size. Counting the volunteer departments, there are 41 members in all. The city is Class 4 on fires, with one of the lowest rates for towns of this size in the entire United States. Much of the recreational and cultural life of Red Wing was made possible by funds granted by local citizens who made their fortune here. James T. Lawther made funds available, which, along with a Carnegie grant, were used to build the library. The post office is a bit of a social center also. When we stop for our morning mail, we usually expect to spend a little time chatting with our neighbors. This post office handles about 6,000 or 7,000 letters a day, plus all the parcel post from our numerous and flourishing industries. The YMCA was the gift of one of the city's founders, James T. Lawther. He became wealthy in the lumber and grain business when T.B. Sheldon donated money for the first auditorium. He stipulated that all returns must be used only in modernizing and maintaining the auditorium. Control of the city-owned hospital is also firmly secured and stipulated by city charter. One of these stipulations is that it must always remain a general hospital. Operation of the city hospital is handled by a board of 5 city residents. One resident is a city physician. The terms of the others expire in successive years. The Republican Eagle brings the news to the people in town and a large part of the county trade area each day. Albert Marshall, Jr. combined the old Eagle and Republican. The swimming pool is one thing that adds to our enjoyment here. We have one of the first and one of the largest in the area. It is in Colville Park, named for Colonel William J. Colville of Gettysburg fame, one of the local citizens of whom Red Wing is proud. Swimming lessons are offered for the local children. Goodhue County Saving Bank has prospered and grown through the past 75 years. Present chairman of the board, O.G. Jones, occupies an office overlooking bustling Bush Street businesses. The president of the bank is Ora G. Jones, Jr. All checking accounts are posted on machines which record deposits and withdrawals. There are 1,526 checking accounts now listed by the bank. Donna Rosner and Esther Kors are operating the posting machines. A proof machine is used to check all figures. All totals must check out on the machine at the close of the day. The First National Bank is the 10th oldest bank in the state. It was organized in 1865. The present First National Bank has been carried through 3 generations of the McIntyre family. The bank was completely modernized for its 75th birthday. Irma Larson operates the posting machine. The speed and accuracy with which this sensomatic posting machine operates was never imagined when the bank was first founded, 7 days after the close of the Civil War, 7 years after Minnesota became a state. Mrs. Dolly Huron is posting checks from the heavy morning rush. Saturday mornings are the busiest, with businessmen making deposits for the week, others making their deposits or withdrawals for weekend pleasures, and workers cashing checks. Shoe manufacturing is one of the best-known industries here. The Red Wing Shoe Company, largest of 3 manufacturers, employs about 350 local residents. A trip through the plant reveals the many skills required in manufacturing shoes. Displayed in the showroom are the many types made by the company. Although making other kinds, they specialize in hunting boots and work shoes. The cutting operation requires considerable experience to get the maximum number of pieces from each hide. Stamping out uppers is the first step in shoe production. The uppers are sorted and matched together to be certain of the same quality and color leather. Each pair is marked with the size of the shoe for which it is intended. Although many of the processes involved in the production of a pair of boots or shoes are now mechanized, there are still some that require skilled craftsmen. Many of the Red Wing families, since coming from Winona, where the shoe industry first started in Minnesota, have carried on the shoe trade from father to son. As uppers move from sorting, sizing, and skiving, which means planing the edges, they go to the vamping sections. The top of the front section of the shoe is known as a vamp, and the process of sewing this section to the uppers is called vamping. Here, they are vamping engineer's boots. This machine stitches vamps and plugs on 120 sport boots an hour. The company's best-known sport boot line is the Irish Setter line, sold throughout the 48 states. During the war, Red Wing Shoe Company made combat paratrooper boots. After vamps are sewn into the boots, they are moved to machines that place and clinch eyelets and lace hooks at the rate of 140 pair each hour. Fast work. Reward, extra pay. Now the boot is ready to be shaped. A last of the correct size is selected, and the upper part of the boot is pulled over the inner sole on the last by machine. The upper is tacked down as it is formed to the shape of the last. The heel seat lasting machine is an excellent example of the mechanization in the shoe industry, replacing the tedious methods formerly used. The heel portion of each shoe is pushed under the wiper first to pre-shape the leather over the inner sole. Then it is pushed into place again, and 22 tacks at one plunge are stamped through the heel, clinching the upper to the inner sole at the heel. The company turns out 2,400 pairs of shoes and boots each day with the aid of various machines. During the war, they were able to produce 15,000 pairs of combat boots a month over their regular production to meet service requirements. This machine secures the toe section to the inner sole. Leather reinforcements must be sewn on the backs to prevent footwear from breaking down. Here, welting is sewn onto shoes. Finally, the soles are laid to the shoes and sewn firmly to both the uppers and the insole. Only a final finishing and polishing are required before the shoes can be packed and be shipped to their destination for sale. Finished shoes are being given their final inspection by Frank Eichinger, who has been working for the Red Wing Shoe Company since 1905. He has served under 4 company presidents. Much of the history of the company is contained in Mr. Eichinger's life, as his working day gradually was shortened and machines began to replace many of the hand operations to make a more uniform and well-made shoe. Branch warehouses maintain stock for 7,000 retail outlets. Red Wing Pottery is another industry for which our town is known. It is said that the clay deposits of the area first attracted the pottery manufacturers to Red Wing. They made jugs, jars, churns, milk pans, and other staple items. The fine dinnerware now made requires a careful blending of clays from many parts of the country. The clay is mixed with a moisture and then kneaded to remove the air. This is called pugging. The processed clay emerges from the kneading and the airing machine through a tube, looking like toothpaste coming out of a giant tube. The rolls of clay are placed on a machine called a jigger. This moves the rolls slowly toward the pressman. As the proper quantity for each piece passes a cutter, it is cut off and picked up by the pressman, who slaps it onto a mold. A jigger man puts the molds and clay on a semi-automatic machine, which forms the clay bottoms for the plates. The jigger man then places the formed plates on a conveyor, 350 in a batch, where they move through a dryer under electric heating elements. They are in this dryer about 35 minutes. There, the plates are hardened only enough to enable operators to handle these particular units. After this original drying, the plates may be taken off the molds. They are then stacked 8 on a pallet and placed on a conveyor for further drying. The time for this final drying depends on the size of each piece. All moisture must be removed before they go into the kilns, since moisture will crack the pieces. When those who operate the dryer have checked the plates and are satisfied that they are completely moisture-free, the plates are placed on a revolving spindle. Another operator trims the rough edges off with a cutter. She then sponges them. They are now ready for the kiln. Approximately 3 days later, after the firing process, the dinnerware is hand-painted according to the selected design. These designs are worked out to appeal to the tastes of the modern housewife. The original Red Wing Capistrano design is being painted here. Other currently popular designs are the New Magnolia, Lotus, and Swallow. The painting completed, each piece is covered with a glaze which completely obscures the design on the plate. It is control of the firing and glazing operations that determine the final quality of the dinnerware. Some pieces are fired only once, others twice. Some go through controlled chemical reactions in the ovens to take on oxide pigments that make the colorful pieces in dinnerware and vases. Control of the heat is also of prime importance, not only in determining the quality of the final product, but in preventing disaster through cracking, breaking, and blistering in the kilns. Normally, the heat during the first firing is held at 2100 degrees, while in the second firing or glazing, it is held at 1950 degrees. If the heat were to go up just 10 degrees, it may result in blistered pieces. Since the first firing continues uninterrupted for 2½ days, the kilns must be on a 24-hour schedule. Here, the hand-painted pieces you saw being sprayed with glaze are removed and ready for shipment. To form cups and hollowware, clay is poured into the mold and left to stand for about half an hour. When the clay is poured out, a thin shell clings to the mold. This is dried and fired to make the cups. Handles are molded separately in special forms and attached to the cups at a later time. A shop for the sale of seconds, which are sold at reduced prices, is across the street from the plant. This is the Lotus Pattern dinnerware set. It was designed by Charles Murphy of East Liverpool, Ohio. 15% of Red Wing's production is modernistic and conventional vases and art pottery. Just across the hill from the pottery factory is another clay industry, the Red Wing Sewer Pipe Company, one of the oldest industries in the city. Now operated by Mr. T.E. Carey, This company manufactures the clay tile needed for modern sewage disposal facilities. Clay is hauled by truck into the plant to fill the storage shed as often as necessary. The interesting fact about this raw product is that it is a completely spent material. For hundreds of thousands of years, it has been washed, bleached, and subjected to nature's chemical, heat, and frost action. It is reduced to the minimum. It is chemically at rest. Consequently, when only clay is used to make the pipe, it will not decay, rust, or disintegrate from chemical action in use. After the clay has been crushed in primary crushers, it is simply run into a revolving bed where water is added to make the right consistency. Huge steel discs cut into the clay, mixing it and the water to a smooth consistency. The clay and water mixture is the raw product from which clay pipe is made. To remove clay from the wet pan, a cutter trough is pushed into the turning clay to direct it onto a conveyor that will carry it to the presses. From the wet pans, the clay is brought to a feeder machine. Each load dumped into the cylinder will make 5 8-inch pipes 3 feet long. The mud head is steam operated at 125 pounds of pressure on each square inch. Anywhere from 1,000 small pipes to 100 or 200 larger pipes are turned out each hour by this machine. One of the most interesting machines in the plant was designed by the plant superintendent of the Red Wing Sewer Pipe Company, Ivan Johnson. It picks the pipe from the press, turns it over on its other end, and gently lowers it onto the cart for movement and storage. Previously, this was a 3-man job. Working with a steady rhythm, it is completely controlled by valves, except the swing-over, which is manually operated. Another product made by the company is called AeroBlock. This was developed by a company employee to be used in the filtering of sewage during the purifying process. These are laid in the filter bed in place of rocks, and liquid is sprayed over the bed. The great amount of surface area eliminates several problems in sewage treatment. 20 tons of moisture from the clay in the pipes must be moved out of the storage area each day. When sufficient moisture has been removed, the pipe is ready to go into the kilns. The clay pipe is now made up of billions of tiny clay particles. In the kiln, these will be welded into a solid unit. The whole structure of piled-up pipe is supported on soft clay to absorb any uneven settlement and prevent warping or cracking of the pipe during the vitrification. The pipe will remain here for a little over 9 days. When the kiln is sealed, the fires are started to gradually raise clay to the vitrification point. At the peak of vitrification, the surface of each little clay particle is softened and united with melted minerals. When the clay is softened inside, salt is thrown on the fire to release sodium gas, which combines with the silica in the pipes. In spite of the vast amounts of coal burned, almost no unfiltered smoke is released into the air. The cooling off of kilns and pipes is a more delicate control job than the firing. It takes 7 days of slowly introducing more and more ventilation before the men can go in to remove the finished clay pipes. To test the pipe, a man raps them with a hammer. If they ring true, they are completely fused into a solid unit. The various types of pipe are stacked in the yards to await shipment. This tannery was built to supply St. Paul shoe factories in the days when St. Paul was building as the wholesale center of the Northwest. The tannery processes only top quality leathers for sides and upper parts of shoes. Hides come into the factory from Texas, Colorado, and the Southwest and are classified and stored in the refrigerator room until ready for processing. When hides are brought out of the refrigerator, where they can be kept a maximum of 90 days, the dirt and preservative salt must be washed off and the moisture which has been lost in storage restored. This takes 24 hours. The hides are moved in lots weighing 6,600 pounds each. About 10 of these lots are processed each day. When hides are washed, they go through a grease-cutting process. The hair is then scraped off by a machine. This is the first phase of the process at the S.B. Foote Tanning Company. Hides are now ready for tanning. Tanning is the process by which animal hides and skins are transformed into soft, pliable leather through the treatment of various chemicals and bark extracts. By this new method, much faster than the old vegetable tanning process, hides are revolved in wooden drums containing chrome salts and sulfuric acid for a period of 9 hours. After tanning, the leather may be bleached or dyed to a great variety of colors. Next, the hides are split. The top piece, commonly called top grain leather, is cut to the thickness desired for the product in which it will be used. The remaining lower part, called a split, is used for shoe linings and work gloves and other similar items. Now the hides are ready for stretching and drying. They are pasted to large metal hangers for movement into the drying machine. In this process, heat will be applied until the leather dries out. After the preliminary drying, it is wetted down and stretched on hangers for return to the drying machine. These modern methods of handling leather are far different from those used when the first tannery building was erected in 1908 to make heavy leather boots and belts for frontiersmen. After cleaning and tanning, the leather enters its third stage, which is conditioning. First, it is softened and made flexible. Although this machine looks dangerous, it would only bruise the man slightly if it should grab his hand while reaching for the leather. It is now being replaced by one which is easier to handle, several of which are already installed in the Foote Tannery. Various methods of finishing are used to obtain smooth and patent leather, suede, pebble grain, and embossed leather. To finish the leather, 5 to 7 processes are involved. 3 pigment coats, 2 middle coats, and 1 top lacquer coat with drying between each one. This may be done with brushes on a conveyor machine or by spraying, as is being done here. The final step is polishing. Then the leather is ready for the shoe factory. The many rollers in this machine count only when they are traveling across the leather. The total of all the rollers is added up and the result given in square feet. Hides are bought by the pound, processed by size and quality, and sold by the square foot. Hides are shipped mainly outside of Red Wing, but some are used by the local shoe factories. Some go to the West Coast, others to St. Louis, and the majority to the East. In the manufacturing process, 350 local residents are employed. Located in one of Minnesota's most scenic areas, Red Wing is now noted for its industry and ranks 8th in the state in manufacturing. Among its many products are leather goods, clay pottery, and processed grain. Ours is a good town, and we hope you've enjoyed the time you've spent with us. Remember, you're always welcome. Red Wing, Minnesota, USA. This is our town.